You think you know Medusa? Think again. Her story is far more fascinating than you might believe. Today we'll uncover 7 incredible facts about Medusa that will completely change how you see her. And fact number 6, it will completely shock you. Make sure to watch until the end and don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss more incredible mythology stories. The origin of the name. Medusa. The name Medusa originates from the Greek word medo, medusa, which means protector or guardian. Some ancient texts suggest that Medusa might have originally been a primordial goddess associated with protective rituals before she was transformed into a monster in mythology. Scholars like Jean-Pierre Vernant argue that Medusa may have symbolized control and protection before being mythologized into a terrifying creature in Greek culture. Some mythologists believe that Medusa's story is not just about a cursed woman, but also a reflection of an ancient civilization overshadowed by classical Greek culture. Some theories suggest that Medusa represents the fall of matriarchal religions as patriarchal Greek society rose to dominance. Scholar Sarah Morris suggests that the Gorgon imagery, including Medusa, originates from the Minoan and Mycenaean cultures, where powerful female deities were once worshipped. Medusa's image was widely used in Roman art, appearing on reliefs, armor, and coins, not as a symbol of fear, but as a sign of power and protection. This suggests that despite being mythologized as a monster, Medusa still played an important role in ancient culture, embodying strength and control. Medusa was once a beautiful woman. Before becoming one of the most terrifying monsters in Greek mythology, Medusa was a beautiful and captivating mortal woman. She was the daughter of the sea god Phorcys and the goddess Ceto, and she was the only one among the 3 Gorgon sisters who lacked immortality. This made Medusa unique, not only because of her radiant appearance, but also because of the tragic fate that she would eventually face. Medusa spent most of her life serving as a priestess in the temple of the goddess Athena. With her long flowing hair, bright eyes, and delicate features, she became a symbol of beauty and purity. Many men, including gods, were drawn to her extraordinary looks. However, this very beauty became Medusa's harshest curse in a cruel twist of fate. The sea god Poseidon took notice of Medusa and decided to seize her within Athena's temple. This act enraged the goddess, but instead of punishing Poseidon, Athena placed a curse on Medusa, transforming her into a monstrous creature with snake hair and a gaze that could turn anyone to stone. This marked the turning point where Medusa went from being a lovely maiden to a symbol of horror in Greek mythology. Medusa was the mother of 2 legendary creatures. When Perseus beheaded Medusa, 2 mythical creatures were born from her blood: Pegasus, the winged horse, and Chrysaor, the giant warrior wielding a golden sword. According to Hesiod in Theogony, their birth not only marked the end of Medusa, but also reflected the Greek mythological theme that death could bring forth new life and symbolism. Pegasus is one of the most famous mythical creatures in Greek mythology. This winged horse was later tamed by Bellerophon and became a symbol of freedom and creativity. Some ancient texts also state that Pegasus carried Zeus's lightning bolts, further reinforcing the horse's divine power. Chrysaor, the brother of Pegasus, is less frequently mentioned. According to Hesiod, Chrysaor was born holding a golden sword, symbolizing warrior strength and rebirth from Medusa's death. While Chrysaor does not appear in many later myths, his existence alongside Pegasus indicates that Medusa was not merely a cursed monster, but a source of powerful beings. Some scholars, such as Jane Ellen Harrison, argue that the story of Pegasus and Chrysaor's birth carries deep symbolic meaning. It represents the idea that from death can arise something miraculous, transforming Medusa from a cursed figure into the origin of legendary beings. This concept aligns with the ancient civilization's beliefs in the life-death-rebirth cycle, present in both nature and mythology. Athena adorned her shield with Medusa's head. After Perseus offered Medusa's severed head to Athena, the goddess placed it on her shield, Aegis, as a weapon to strike fear into her enemies. In Homer's Iliad, Athena's Aegis is a symbol of power and protection, reflecting Medusa's divine nature before her transformation into a monster. According to mythology, Aegis was a terrifying shield, capable of striking fear into enemies at first sight. Even after being severed, Medusa's head retained its petrifying power, allowing Athena and Zeus to use it as a formidable weapon. By placing Medusa's head on Aegis, Athena not only honored Medusa's power, but also turned an enemy's weapon into a tool of protection. The image of Aegis with Medusa's head appears in many ancient Greek artworks, from relief sculptures to pottery. Greek warriors often depicted Medusa on their armor and shields, believing it would ward off evil and protect them in battle. Some scholars, like Sarah P. Morris, believe Athena used Medusa's head to absorb the power of an ancient goddess. This suggests Medusa was not just a cursed figure, but a symbol of divine protection and authority. Some ancient records suggest that Gorgons were initially protective goddesses, rather than terrifying monsters. In pre-Greek civilizations, particularly the Minoan and Mycenaean cultures, Gorgon imagery appeared in ritual artifacts and architecture, symbolizing protection and warding off evil spirits. Scholar Sarah Morris argues that Gorgons may have been a form of primordial goddess before Greek mythology transformed them into monstrous beings. In ancient Greek art, the face of the Gorgon, often depicted with snake-like hair and a piercing gaze, was engraved on shields and armor. This suggests that the Gorgon was not merely a figure of fear, but also a symbol of power and protection. Some scholars believe that Gorgon imagery may have originated from early beliefs in earth goddesses and guardian spirits, particularly in matriarchal societies. Additionally, in ancient Near Eastern civilizations, similar creatures resembling Gorgons appeared, such as protective relief carvings in Mesopotamia. This suggests that the concept of a protective yet fearsome being may have predated Greek mythology and been adapted into it. The shift from protective deities to monstrous figures may have coincided with changes in societal structures, particularly as patriarchal societies replaced matriarchal ones. Medusa and other Gorgons may have once symbolized female power before they were reinterpreted as monsters to be slain. This transformation reflects how ancient myths were not just stories, but also historical and societal narratives that evolved over time. Medusa is one of the most tragic figures in Greek mythology. She was betrayed, cursed, and ultimately slain, yet she became an immortal symbol. The feminist scholar Hélène Cixous, in The Laugh of the Medusa, used Medusa's image to represent the power and resistance of women against religious and patriarchal oppression. Medusa was not merely a monster, but a victim of injustice in Greek mythology. When Poseidon assaulted her in Athena's temple, instead of punishing the perpetrator, Athena cursed Medusa. This turned her into a cursed being, exiled from society and hunted down. Athena's actions may represent divine order, but they also reflect a harsh reality of Greek society, where women were often punished even when they were victims. Symbolically, Medusa represents male fear of female power. Her petrifying gaze is not just a weapon, but an act of self-defense and resistance against injustice. Some analysts believe that Medusa's image was used to warn against defying male-dominated power structures, but she also stands as a symbol of resilience and survival. After being slain by Perseus, Medusa's head was not discarded, but was affixed to Athena's shield, the Aegis, continuing its role as a protector in battle. This shows that despite being destroyed, Medusa continued to hold significant influence. Her image appears widely in ancient Greek art, not just as a terrifying monster, but as a complex symbol of power, beauty, and defiance. Today, Medusa remains one of the most analyzed figures in Greek mythology, reinterpreted in art, literature, and feminist movements. She is not just a figure of punishment, but a testament to the strength and enduring presence of women in cultural history. Medusa's story has many versions. Some versions of the myth suggest that Medusa was a primordial goddess rather than a victim of Athena. In Joseph Campbell's comparative mythology studies, Medusa is viewed as a symbol of the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth, reflecting a crucial phase in Greek cultural development. Originally, Medusa was not a monstrous being, but may have been an ancient goddess associated with protection and fertility. Some scholars, like Carl Kerényi, believe Medusa originated from pre-Greek civilizations, particularly the Minoan and Mycenaean cultures. These civilizations often worshipped powerful goddesses associated with life, death, and rebirth, and Medusa's image may have evolved from these early symbols before being transformed into a terrifying monster in later Greek mythology. Some variations suggest that Medusa was not cursed by Athena, but was originally a divine entity. In some traditions, she was a guardian spirit of Libya, where Gorgon-like figures appear in ancient archaeological artifacts. This suggests that Medusa's transformation from a protective deity to a monstrous figure was part of a larger shift in religious and cultural thought over time. In some versions, Medusa was not merely a victim but a powerful entity in her own right. She was not slain by Perseus, but simply disappeared or was reborn into a new form. Some argue that Medusa was not truly a monster, but rather a reflection of Greek society's fear of female power. Today, different interpretations of Medusa continue to exist, with scholars and modern artists using her image as a symbol of resistance and female empowerment. The different versions of Medusa's story reflect the shifting ways in which societies understand power, gender, and mythology across time. Medusa's blood had special powers. In Bibliotheca by Pseudo-Apollodorus, it is said that the blood from Medusa's right side had healing properties, while the blood from her left side was deadly. This reflects the Greek belief in balance between life and death, with Medusa serving as a bridge between the two realms. According to myths, after Perseus beheaded Medusa, her blood spilled onto the earth and transformed into venomous snakes. This detail added to her fearsome reputation in folklore and mythology. Some of Medusa's blood also spilled into the sea, creating red coral, which became a valuable jewel in ancient times. The Greeks believed red coral had protective properties and brought good fortune. Hesiod in Theogony mentioned that Medusa's blood was given to Asclepius, the god of medicine. Asclepius used it to revive the dead, proving that Medusa was not only a creature of destruction, but also a source of miracles. Some modern scholars, such as Sarah Iles Johnston, argue that this detail shows the Greeks' deep respect for Medusa as a multi-dimensional figure. Medusa embodied both destruction and renewal, making her one of the most complex figures in mythology. Her image continues to appear in art and literature, emphasizing her lasting influence on human storytelling. Medusa's head retained its power after her death. Even after being beheaded by Perseus, Medusa's head retained its ability to turn people into stone. Perseus used it to defeat Polydectes, transforming him into stone. According to Ovid in Metamorphoses, Perseus used Medusa's head multiple times to turn entire enemy armies into stone, demonstrating its mystical power even after her death. Instead of discarding Medusa's head, Perseus kept it in a special bag. Whenever he encountered enemies, he would simply reveal the head, turning them into statues. Some versions of the myth state that before giving Medusa's head to Athena, Perseus used it to protect his mother, Danae, from King Polydectes, who had been forcing her into marriage. When Perseus presented Medusa's head before Polydectes and his court, they all turned to stone, bringing justice to Danae. This moment stands as one of the myth's most powerful displays of divine justice. Medusa, even in death, bringing fairness through her remaining power. Eventually, Perseus gifted Medusa's head to Athena, who placed it on her divine shield, the Aegis. In battles, Athena wielded the Aegis to strike fear into her enemies, using Medusa's lingering power to her advantage. Some scholars believe Athena's possession of Medusa's head symbolizes the Olympian's ability to control and harness primal chaotic forces. The image of Medusa's head continued to be widely used in Greek and Roman art, appearing on city walls, armor, and shields as a protective symbol. Today, Medusa remains a strong cultural symbol, appearing in art, fashion, and feminist movements as a representation of independence, strength, and female empowerment. Did these facts change how you see Medusa? Let us know in the comments. And if you love mythology, don't forget to subscribe for more legendary stories.